I have to say, for the entirety of my youth, a good 10 to 15 years, we spent the summers. The Goldberg spent the summers in the same way, to be honest, as most of Quebec. We would drive straight across the border. We would explore this beautiful vista of America, seeing such far-off places as Kennebunkport, Ogunquit, and Wells. Maine. Just Maine. Only ever Maine. Every summer for 10 to 15 years. And this does a weird thing to a kid's brain, right? I have 10 to 15 years of beautiful summer memories that have gotten all like squished together because of the sameness of it all. I remember waiting for years at the border. I remember waiting for years for the keys to the weird cottage that my dad had found that he said was next to the beach, which was like a 20-minute walk to the beach. And I remember every single one of these identical and completely different cottages having the same sensory experience as you walk in. The weird squish of the carpet. Why is there carpet at the ocean? You feel the sand getting between your toes, and you smell like the salty, musty interior. That's what happens when you have carpet adjacent to the ocean. And, not enough bedrooms for 3 boys and 2 parents, none of whom can be in the same room for any length of time. But the beach. Let me tell you about the beach. Cold. Very cold. Both the air as well as the water. Bitter, chilling, nightmare-inducing cold. And yet we loved that. That was amazing. My brothers and I would jump into the water, we were such city kids, so grossed out by the seaweed, but feeling the smashing of freezing waves on our body was incredible. For the 20 minutes we were allowed to enjoy it before it was off to the 3rd station on this journey. Because the real reason that my dad loved this was not the sea air, was not the ocean, it was the shopping. It was the shopping at stores, Cabela's, LL Bean, the Kittery Trading Post. These were all very outdoorsy stores for our very awkward and non-athletic family. And I would watch him trying on shorts and ill-fitting shirts with different vents and camping zippers. And I was bored. I was so bored. Parents, if you want your kids' summer vacations to last, the Kittery Trading Post, it's still there. It's still terrible. And you'd wander away, and it's America, so there's the guns, cool. And then you'd wander away, and then there's all of the big mouth bass hats, like a hat with a bass sticking out of it that you could ever dream of, and like fish wearing outfits and singing songs, the kitschiest kitsch that ever kitsched. Truly incredible. And it was the same way for 10 to 15 years. The border, the cottage, the smell, the freeze, the shopping. And about the time that I was 14 or 15, I realized how much this was awful, how much this was driving me crazy, because I just wanted a real experience, like of a real place, and not this nicely controlled cordon tour of Ogunquit, Wells, and Kittery. I wanted to actually meet people, and you don't do that on the beaches in Maine. I mean, you can meet a lot of people, like I say, from Quebec, 1 million Quebec license plates, and we're all kind of awkwardly avoiding each other for some reason. I wanted to meet people my own age, talk to people my own age, know about other experiences, and that never happened. Until, there's always an until the one year, I don't remember how we heard about it. I feel like I was a Boy Scout. I feel like it came through Scouts, that some other parent recommended it to my dad, that we check out the Point Sebago Campground and Resort. And this was perfect, because the Point Sebago Campground and Resort had camping. Finally, the LL Bean and Cabela's could come out. My dad could really show his camping pride. And not only was there a place to wear camping stuff, there were activities for the whole family. There was archery and riflery. It's America. There were a lot of weapons. There was boating. There were hikes. And I was an awkward, unathletic guy, but for some reason, this really appealed to me. And so I pushed, and my dad bought in, and this one beautiful year, we went. We waited at the border. We turned away from Wells. I don't know which direction. I haven't looked at a map of this in a while. And turned into Lake Sebago and found our campsite. We arrived, we got in, we got our site, everything's fine. We set up our tents. I'm sharing with Dan. That's a little awkward, but whatever. And it's fine. That first night is totally fine. I wake up the next morning ready to go. Activities! I'm going to do archery, I'm going to do riflery, I'm going to do some hikes. And it's raining. It's camping. Of course it's raining. That makes sense. It's a gentle rain, but it's not the freezing death of the beach. That's exciting. It's change. And so I go out and I take my archery course, and there's other kids. There's other 14 to 17-year-olds, and I don't talk to them, but they're there. They're close. And I get to riflery, and there's a girl there. And I realize the secret dream in my heart of hearts is that I'm going to meet this beautiful, mythical character who's going to change my life forever, and she might be there, not that I talked to her, but she's there maybe. And it's great, and it's still raining, that's fine. And then we go for the hike, and I'm getting a little wet, but I'm in good spirits because I'm talking to people. I even somehow, the magic of Point Sebago, convinced Dan to go with me to the teen center that night. There's a teen center, and I play foosball, and I throw darts, which I'm even worse at than foosball somehow. But it's fine. There's teens and camaraderie, and night one is a huge success. And Dan and I go to bed in our tent that's a little too small for two teenage boys, but it's fine. I wake up in the night to an odd sensation. I'm on an air mattress. That's not the odd sensation, but I'm kind of doing a little wobble. And I look over, and Dan has taken one of those giant Tupperware tops, and he's used it as a table for his Sega Game Gear, which he brought with him into the tent. It's lying on there. That's an antiquated reference, folks. And it's floating there. It's floating there. And in my mind, it can't possibly be true, but in my mind, there's 2 inches of water in the tent. And that's when I hear my parents in their tent. This beautiful LL Bean tent has flooded because the rain has turned torrential outside. We Goldbergs are a fierce breed. We abandon everything and run away. We drive and drive. It's maybe 2 a.m, and we find the only motel that has space, the Village by the Sea, which I don't see because it's late and I'm very tired. We don't even have all our stuff with us. Our tents are still there. Is that fine? Is that okay? Can you do that when you're camping? I don't have time to ask those questions. Dan's got his game gear. It's fine. We get into the room, and I notice 2 things at once. First, that smell. And second, that sensation. This is carpeted. This is the same squishy, sandy carpet that every cottage in Maine has. And not only that, it's the same musty smell as every cottage in Maine. And when I wake up in the morning, I realize that the Village by the Sea is the motel version of every single cottage I've spent every summer in for the last 15 years. And my dad loves it because it's so much cheaper. Even though the rain gives out that next day, we go back and we decamp. He is abandoning camp, and I'm just feeling my heart breaking. I have riflery. What about riflery? I hate guns, but I want to make my friends. And we're taking apart the tents, and on our way back to the motel by the sea, which, by the way, is where I don't know it yet, but where we'll spend the next 5 years of our vacations. It is his new favorite. On our way back to Village by the Sea, he takes a detour straight for the Kittery Trading Post. I know. I'm a grown-up now, and I have to say, in that moment, I realized the power grown-ups have to completely choose and derail a family vacation. And now that I'm an adult with kids, I don't use this power for evil. I take my kids to exciting and very different places, sometimes too many different places. I like to move a lot. But I got to tell you, the weirdest thing about families is the way that cycles go, because it doesn't matter if I'm going where I am in Halifax, or we are in Cape Breton, or where we are in any of the national parks. My kids always find the gift store. And I'm not looking at big mouth bass hats, but I am seeing a lot of bears in kilts and singing things. And yeah, more kitschy fish crap. Thank you.